Okay, so this is a little deconstruction of something that I put together, and this is running in the brand new Cubase 8.5. This is not a tour of the new features, it's just going to show you the application used in context with a complete production. And this is a really nice kind of old school 90s deep house underground kind of vibe, and it's very organ focused. We're going to take a look at the instruments used. It's been put together using entirely Cubase instruments and effects. Okay, so no third-party stuff here whatsoever. And it's a really nice showcase for what's feasible with just the application. So let's take a look. I'm going to drop in maybe just over here, and let's see what happens. So the beat intro is quite simple at the moment, and when it comes to club tunes, you all know that the intro is usually where the DJ is mixing out the previous tune. So you can hear what's happening is the hat pattern is developing. There's a shaker that's coming. We'll take a look at the programming fairly soon, and this is all leading up to the point where there's an effects fill. It goes down into an organ. So let's take a look at what's going on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus firstly on this kick. All right, so let's take a listen. Let me bring up channel strip. There's something really particular about what's going on with this, and that's the Quadra Fuzz V2. So this is an effect that came in with Cubase Pro 8. And it's a really, really great update on the old classic Quadra Fuzz. And what I'm using here is, you can see here, I'm using the tube distortion on the lower two bands here. And I'm not using the drive on the tape here, but the tape kind of switch is really good for tape saturation. So I'm not driving it at all there. So really, I'm just using the tube on the lower two bands. So you can see here that we're going from, this is probably about 20 Hertz up to 150 Hertz for that first band. And then it's from about 150 up to 1.5K for the second band. So these are in isolation. Let me show you what it sounds like without. Okay, so here we go. So it's very much a kind of clean, dry 909 sound. Back to the beginning. Let me just bring the effect back on, and you can hear the difference. This is emulating that old school distorted 909 kick kind of sound. You hear that? And then back on again. And I really wanted that kind of flavor. I used to basically take my mixing desk and take the gain all the way up, take the fader down really low, and it used to get this natural distortion that sounded fantastic. So this is emulating that kind of a vibe. Let me just show you the bands. I'll solo the low frequencies, and then the next band. So it's a combination of those two together, giving that nice raw kind of heavyweights distorted kick flavor. So let's come back and take a look at this. So the hi-hat isn't on every single offbeat. So the pattern there is complemented by the next one. Can I move this over? Now, can you hear what's going on with that? Basically, it's another 909 hi-hat. But instead of it being conventional, I wanted to change it a bit. So the pitch is lower. Okay, so I've tuned that down. So have a listen again. You hear that? High and low. So it creates this alternating kind of rhythm. I really like that. I think it helps make the beat sound a bit more interesting. Shaker. Let me show you the programming. Nice range of velocity going on here. So those elements are all working together. By the way, the clap, it's got a really healthy amount of reverb on it. So you can see I've got this feeding using a send effect. So into this clap verb. Let's take a look at the Reverb Return so we can see what's going on with this. So the Roomworks SE. And you hear that slap back kind of vibe. That's because I've got my pre-delay set over here quite slow. me show you what would happen if I change that. It's a bit more conventional, but I really love that effect. It's almost like a kind of slap back echo. And let's listen again. You hear that? Let's take the effect off. So that, in conjunction with all the other elements, works really nicely. Just going to show you here. Got some chimes to create a nice kind of transitional effect to signify something new is coming in. So let me show you what that is. And you know, when I'm working with Cubase, I use the Sonic a lot, and this is a preset called Chime Atmos. And you know, you can see there that it's just going from high to low pitch, creating that nice little transition. So that works really well. Just trying to think if there's anything else that I should point out for you. I think that's about it really. There is another reverb clap. So you can see here, clap big. So this is happening at the end of the 8-bar sequence as this kind of transitional bridge between sections. So that works really nicely. Let's take a look at this. That's got a Roomworks SE reverb on the insert. So that's adding that big amount of space. So we're onto the organ, and this has got that real classic kind of old school vibe to it. Just going to open it up and show you which instrument we're using. This is once again the Sonic SE2. This is an organ preset called Slow Percussion. And let's backtrack a bit there. So look, just to add some interest and drama as that breakdown is occurring, I've added a Resonant Synth Pad. And you can see here that it's basically flowing an octave apart. So the low note carries on at the same time, and then comes over here. We've got another higher note for a shorter period of time. So it's creating that tension. So look, listen again. And what you're hearing there is the filter sweep is basically opening up the frequencies as it gets towards the end of the note. So that creates that kind of hype, you know, that works really nicely. That is another Sonic preset called Ascending Sweeps. So it's a real classic vibe there. And now we're into the section where the bass comes. Okay, so let me just select this part. So pushing P again, and let's have a listen. So open it up. So this is the Retrologue Tubes. So this is a custom patch that I set up. Just a really simple sound here, just a sine wave, right? And you know, that's all you need for this kind of track really. Real nice simple element going on there. And what I'm doing is basically, you'll see that the compressor is here, and this has got the sidechain on, so it's receiving signal from the kick drum. Just going to open it up, and you can see here that this is routed to feed signal from that kick into the sidechain input of the bass compressor. Okay, I'm also doing the same with a tambourine. I'm not sure I showed you this, right? So let me find where it comes in. So you can see here constant velocity on those tambourine parts. So let me just show you here. So let's come over. I'm going to solo the tambourine, and then also find that kick. Where are we? Let's get the programming. Did you hear that? Once again, constant velocity, but I've got the kick basically ducking the volume of the tambourine to create more of an interesting pulse to the rhythm. You hear that? It's got a real nice skippy kind of flavor to it. So let me just show you here. Compressor as an insert on the tambourine with a sidechain coming from the kick. All right, so that's a really nice little technique you might want to try. So your percussion being ducked by the kick drum. So yeah, it's a variation on that sidechain technique. So what else we got? Got some real nice strings there. So let's see what's going on. There we go. Once again, the Sonic SE2. a preset called Lovely Ensemble. There are some beautiful string patches coming out of this thing, and that's one of them. Okay, now this is a wicked sound. Okay, this thing called a rapid organ. Let me show you. Let's take a look. Housemusic SE once again. Seriously, it's like a secret weapon for this kind of sound. So this is something called the element organ, and what I do with this is quite interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to expose it automation. So we're going to bring it down, and you're going to see what's going on over here. Can you see that? So some variation in terms of the resonance and the cutoff. So it creates a little subtle variation in tone. But look what goes on over here. Let me show you this. Have a listen. So there's a switch inside the instrument. So can you see these controls moving around here? So the octave switch was going up and down. And again. So this is another one of those tricks. You know, you can have the same riff, but using automation we can get some variation in there. So it means that it's not as boring as it would be if it was exactly the same. Really simple MIDI programming here as well. Okay, a couple of things coming in there. There is another pad. Okay, yeah, let me just find this. Not this one, it's the warm pad. Here we go. A really nice sound out. Let me just bring those elements in there together. And this warm pad is once again, if we open it up, Steinberg instrument, and this is the Padshot Pro. You know, it's a lovely granular synth. It's got some fantastic presets in there for evolving pads, and so that's a really nice extra texture there. So coming over here. Yeah, you know, I tell you what, let me just show you those strings. So where are we? There's a string riff, I called it, and this happens at certain points, and I just played this in, so let me just solo this, and so that works as a little transition at the end of certain segments. You can see it's not there all the time. And by the way, you know, look at the muted parts here. I used that subtractive technique where I just copy loads and loads of parts throughout the actual track, and I used a ruler track, by the way, you can see up here set to seconds, to just get a sense of the length of the tune. So I pasted multiple copies of the parts that I'd created, and then I just went through and started muting. So I've just pushed 7 on my number keypad here, and that's brought up the X here so that I can use that for muting on and off. And that's how I built the structure, you know. So it's a technique that I would advise. I've got a couple of videos about that, so check those out. And we had another wind chime. So I'm just going to show you here, that was rising up. Just going to zoom out so you can see that. So the opposite of before. So just some percussive booms. This is coming from Housemusic SE2, a preset called LA Riot. And what's happening now is that organ's being filtered down. Let's take a look at what happens with the organ now. So I'm going to bring on the automation. A couple of things going on here. Let me just open this up first. You can see some of the controls, actually not in this section being used, but they are. You can see this motor, morph filter, that's it. I'm just trying to remind myself what I did here. So audio inserts, morph filter. So you can see this being used to kind of evolve that organ sound. So we're kind of picking things up a bit, thinning the organ out, and that's a good trick when you're doing a build-up, because when the bass comes back it adds extra emphasis. And we're back in again, so nothing new really. It's very much a DJ track with some nice musical elements, coming from the Housemusic SE. Probably worth mentioning a couple of things here. If I go to my stereo out, I've got some processing going on over the whole track. So this is kind of like my DIY mastering. Alright, let me just focus on a section here. Let me bypass all the inserts. And then back on again. So let's take a look at these individually. What I'm going to do is bypass and then turn on the magneto. So have a listen. Obviously the levels dropped quite a lot. I'm going to stop talking, have a listen to this. Now when you listen without a magneto, it feels a lot more defined. I quite like the fact that it sort of rounds things off, you know. So the magneto is a tape simulation. And once again, I'll bypass it. And let's turn it back on. Let's have a listen now. You see that all I've done is just push up the saturation a bit here, and I really like the sound of that. You know, it's a real classic vibe. Let's take a look at the studio EQ now, and you know, I've just got a little bit of a dip here. I felt this was helping take away some of the kind of muddiness in the track. And then finally, I've got the maximizer, which is a very simple thing to use. All you need to do really is just to adjust the optimize, and I pay attention to things like the RMS over here. So take a look on the meter and see what's happening with this. So I'll take it off. Take a look at the RMS at the moment. Just going to reset this. So we're talking about -18. And then the actual peak, the maximum, is -3.8. Let's come back and let's turn on the maximizer. And let's see what happens with this. Tell you what, I'm just getting used to some of these things on 8.5. That looks as if it's not actually on. Because you can see what they've done here with the power buttons. Let me just check it's working. No, I don't know what I did there. I must have confused myself. Yeah, look, that's the power, and then that's bypass. Right, so look, just ignore me. It's a bit late, and I've had a long day. So anyway, once again, bypassing. Let's take a look at the levels. I'm going to reset. So the RMS and peak reset. And now bringing it back on, taking the bypass off. Take a look at the new RMS and the new peak. Some people might say I'm just squishing it just a tad too much. So, you know, you might want to ease that optimize back a bit. Have a listen. So anyway, that's about it really. So simple track once again, not too many elements going on here, but very much focused on, of course, the instruments that you get within Cubase 8 and also the effects as well. So Cubase Pro 8.5 has some interesting new additions. You know, like I said, this hasn't been focused on them, but you know, I will try and take a look at some of those on forthcoming videos. Right, that's about it. If you have any questions, please give me a shout on the comments below.